We welcome you into our ACC Network extra coverage of the 2017 Atlantic Coast Conference Rowing Championship. We're at Lake Hartwell in Clemson, South Carolina. It's a long lake that separates Anderson, Pickens, and Oconee counties here in the upstate of South Carolina. And hi, friends, and welcome in with Steve Pritzker, Pete Yannity with you. It's the 18th annual ACC Rowing Championship. We'll begin the day with our heat races in the morning. Then later this afternoon, we have the finals for you. And suffice it to say, the Virginia Cavaliers, a team that's favored and has simply been dominant, winning all but one of the previous 17 championships.
So Virginia, under Coach Kevin Sauer, has certainly been dominant, but we're seeing the competition get tighter and tighter every year. Certainly Syracuse, Notre Dame, Louisville, Duke, all pushing it and making it a more exciting competition.
Now, a year ago on this very lake, in fact, all but three of the championships have been held here at Lake Hartwell. The Cavaliers again showed just how powerful they are, winning everything across the board. In fact, all the ACC rowing championship records are owned by Virginia. At the same time, as we know, the automatic bid will go to the winner today for the NCAA rowing championships, but there are some at-large bids that could be out there for some of the teams you mentioned.
Sure. Last year we actually saw 3 bids come out of the ACCs, and so looking anywhere from 2 to 4, so 1 automatic and then another 1 to 3 that may come out of the second, third, fourth place finishers.
What a beautiful day we have. We expect temperatures eventually to get up into the 80s this afternoon. This morning, temperatures in the 60s, but a sunny day. But again, when we talk about rowing, the first thing you have to factor in wind conditions. So how do you see those today?
We're seeing a slight headwind even this early in the morning. We certainly made the schedule to be early and late to minimize the wind, but you could see 6 to 8 seconds impact on this. So time's probably a little tough to set records this weekend.
And, of course, the heat races will yield just how the finals set up. The points are determined by the outcome of those, and we will eventually crown the ACC rowing champion for 2017. They call this part of South Carolina the Golden Corner on a beautiful day, and will return.
Qualifying, Louisville through in third, let's say 5 seats up on Miami. Miami's got just about 3/4 of the length of North Carolina, so really good battle for that third, fourth, fifth spot as well as first, second. So 2 different races here for the leaders, first and second, and then back third, fourth, fifth. So right now you think the qualifiers, Syracuse, Virginia, and Louisville, but Miami is none out of it here for that third spot. Pete, we're going to turn it over to you for the last 250.
And quite the battle at the front, as you see, and Syracuse doing a great job in lane number 4. Syracuse team seated 4th in this second varsity 8. But as you see, almost a full boat lead on Virginia, the number 1 seed. The Cavaliers seated 1st in 3 of our 5 events, but Syracuse getting some really great power generated from their engine room. Lexi Dorner and Maddie Holtzman-Klima, as well as Ariana Lee. Virginia now closest to us, trying to catch up as we arrive at the final 150 meters or so. As they approach the finish line, Virginia battling back. Still about a 5-seed lead for Syracuse on the inside. Our battle for first here in the first of our 2 second varsity 8 heats. They come to the finish line. Syracuse on the inside looking to hang on. And the Syracuse Orange crossing the line first. And they win the first heat of our second varsity 8. Virginia finishing second. The battle meanwhile for third and fourth. On the inside,
Syracuse looks like maybe fighting back here, maybe open up a couple seats back on Louisville from my angle, but take note of that second and third battle for the middle lanes this afternoon. Pete, over to you.
Thank you, Steve, as we continue to watch this second varsity 4 unfold in heat number 2. And they're actually going to do 2 mini heats to make up that delayed second varsity 8 heat number 2 with Duke and Notre Dame comprising that, and they are competing well behind what you're watching right now, which is our second heat of our second varsity 4. And again, the Virginia Cavaliers trying to hold off the field. 2 lanes over from them. In lane 3 is Syracuse putting on a battle. Louisville is in the middle lane, lane 4. But Virginia looking, as we get close to the finish line, to hold off both Syracuse and Louisville, and now with about a half a boat length on second place Syracuse, 2 lanes over. Virginia on its way to yet another victory, their third of the morning, and the battle for second place looks like it's going to be won by Syracuse in lane number 3, with Louisville finishing third, and then further back Boston College will finish fourth. And you see closest to us is that Duke boat. And Duke now moving about 3 seats ahead. The Duke second varsity 8. A group that includes Celia McRae, Tara Christensen, Olivia Mandanka, Taji Phillips, Jessica Findley, Rhea Bergman, Layla Boley, Phoebe Donovan, and the coxswain is Carly Person. And now Duke building nearly a full boat lead on Notre Dame. And again, this is our second varsity 8, heat number 2, a mini heat. It was originally supposed to be a 4-boat competition, with Boston College and Clemson rounding it out, but a technical issue with the Clemson boat. And now Duke creating some open water as they get close to the finish line, and Duke will finish ahead of Notre Dame in this portion of the second varsity 8. Heat number 2. So we're told there will be a second mini heat. We trust that will involve Clemson and Boston College, and perhaps that will come up after the next competition, which is scheduled to be the third varsity 8. Back at Lake Hartwell, so our morning of our 10 races over our various events has concluded. Virginia with 4 first-place finishes, Syracuse with 2, Louisville with 2, and Duke with 2. And again, a bit of a different way of settling things in the second varsity 8, heat number 2, due to that earlier issue on the Clemson boat. But Duke and Notre Dame had a mini heat in which Duke finished first, and then Clemson and Boston College a mini heat won by Clemson. But we'll give the overall winner of that second varsity 8, heat number 2, to Duke. So this afternoon, the grand final and the petite final in the various competitions, and we invite you to join us for that at 5:30 from here at Lake Hartwell. For now, on behalf of Steve Pritzker, Pete Hannity saying so long. The 2017 ACC Rowing Championships continue later on. This has been a presentation of ESPN. We welcome you to Lake Hartwell here in Clemson, South Carolina for the finals of the 2017 ACC Rowing Championships. A beautiful day. We had quite a morning of heat races, and now we'll decide who wins the championship in 2017 and perhaps see which teams are able to set themselves up for at-large bids to the upcoming NCAA Rowing Championships. And we welcome you back along with Steve Pritzker, Pete Hannity with you, wishing the moms out there a happy Mother's Day. And so here we go for the finals, but first let's touch on a little happening this morning that was a bit out of the ordinary in the second varsity 8 race. A technical issue led to some shuffling of how things will play out in the finals. Sure,
Clemson had some breakage before, in the first 100 meters or so, and so it looked like they wanted to potentially restart it. They had to repair the boat, so they ended up having two boat almost time trials there. And so the officials came back and said, is that the fairest way to really narrow this thing down, and decided to go with a 7-boat final. So when you start looking ahead and you talk about teams qualifying for NCAAs, those points may matter, and for the team competition today, which really everyone's gunning for in this afternoon point system.
And as you probably know, in the finals of a championship, you have a petite final and a grand final, and of course the points are significantly more weighted for the grand finals, but with 7 teams competing in that second varsity 8 race instead of the usual 6, that really could be a 1 or 2 point difference that makes a big difference in the end.
Yeah, I mean, last year the team finished second was about 0.3 of a second between 3 or 4 different races making it happen. So it's going to be tight, and getting a shot is important.
As we look out on the lake, we see the wind has picked up a little bit from this morning. At this point, it would be a tailwind. Plus, we're about 20 degrees warmer than we were this morning. So talk about how those could impact things.
Sure. I mean, for the athletes, if you were out there for an hour and a half this morning, now 20 degrees warmer, a little more humid, making sure you recover well, and time should be a little bit quicker, but it definitely warm conditions, which you need to prepare for soon enough. It's next couple weeks of summer racing.
Virginia has won all but one of the previous 17 ACC championships. The Cavaliers going for a 9th in a row. When we come back, we'll start the finals here on the shores of Lake Hartwell in the upstate of South Carolina. We're back after this. All right, thanks, Steve. And as we get close to the finish line, and you can hear the roar of the crowd as Duke is doing its best to try to finish in second. and Virginia goes and gets the win, and there is your battle as it appears that Louisville is able to edge out Duke. Syracuse will, it appears, come in fourth, and then Clemson and Notre Dame battling for fifth and sixth. And you see Notre Dame finishing fifth and Clemson to finish sixth. And there are the Tigers coming in the sixth slot, but Virginia getting 18 points. They began that grand final in the first varsity four with a 2-point advantage over Syracuse and 4 up on Louisville, but they will now build that lead. First place 18 points, second place in that competition 16 points, and then 2 points separate the remaining teams in our first varsity four grand final. We'll take it to a timeout. When we come back, we'll visit with the head coach of the Syracuse Orange. They look to make some noise as our finals continue here at Lake Hartwell in South Carolina.
Here comes Notre Dame. Seat back now. Notre Dame really pressing here. Notre Dame is seat out. Will they flip the script like Syracuse did in the 2V? Now you're within a half seat now. Really tight race for second, and this may be for a lot more than just points today. So Notre Dame now pushing. Notre Dame now. Let's give Notre Dame the slight edge here. Virginia still a couple seats up open water. Notre Dame and Syracuse, I give a slight edge to Notre Dame. Duke now in fourth. Open water back. There's Balboa to Balboa for second. So this is going to be a photo finish here for second. Slight edge to Notre Dame. Virginia through. Looks like right now, and it can be second place. It looks to the eye like Notre Dame, but that's just off the eye. Syracuse looks to be third. Duke looks to be fourth. Back off. Looks to be Louisville in fifth and Clemson in sixth. So great race there for second. Again, Pete, I'm going to have to turn to you for that second, but by my eye, looked like Notre Dame may have gotten him. Over to you, Pete.
All right, thank you, Steve. So the Virginia Cavaliers taking care of business. It was actually an interesting scenario had Virginia seen Syracuse again finish ahead of them in a first varsity 8 race and had Syracuse 1 and Virginia second. Virginia would have won the championship by a point in the overall points, but Syracuse, we are told, would have actually gotten the automatic NCAA bid because our final 3 grand finals here this evening, the first varsity 4, the second varsity 8, and the first varsity 8, and those 3 Syracuse would have had more points, and those are considered NCAA qualifying events. But the bottom line is the Virginia Cavaliers have just sealed another ACC rowing championship, their 17th of 18 all time. We will come back with more and visit with the winning head coach after this.